And this is a mixture experience. Guterman, a fair bit older and more experienced than the two youngsters, the two rookies behind him. But look at this, Carpentier is beginning to line up Guterman now for the pass into turn one, but he doesn't quite make it. Guterman's able to cut across his bows as they turn into the very quick corner. It's the slightly slower of the two corners on this racetrack. They're still doing around 160 miles an hour through turns 1 and 2 though, and then building up, and oh, again he has a little look, but it's a hard place to overtake into turn 3, a corner that in qualifying trim is taken absolutely flat out with a full tank of fuel on now in the early stages of the race. They won't be quite flat out, but it's still a very difficult place to overtake, and Carpentier's got to be careful because right behind him is Dario Franchitti, eager and anxious to find the gap to move up another position if it's at all possible.
That's Hiro Matsushida's car. They're already lapped with, well, we've only been 8 laps since the green, and Hiro Matsushida's awfully slow on the inside line. I think as we showed in Brazil a couple of weeks ago, he was given the black flag. He wasn't able to maintain the proper pace. They brought him into the pits with a bit of luck. They'll do the same again here this afternoon.
Look at this, Alonso Jr. is fighting with Parker Johnston. He has a look down the inside, but Parker Johnston says, not this time, mate. Cuts the door, cuts the angle again into the corner, shuts the door, and he stays there in what position is Johnson at the moment? Let's just have a look. Well, he's quite a long way down, in fact. The computer at the moment sort of playing us up a little bit. It seems to be showing some slightly odd positions for some of these guys. But at the moment, Johnston and Unser are battling away just outside the top 10. And Unser trying to make up ground after that pit stop, which lost him obviously quite a lot of time. Marc Blundell still running down in 17th position, but he's only just behind Gilles de Ferran, who had to start from quite a long way back. In fact, there's a good battle of cars there. Richie Hearn just being passed by Gilles de Ferran, and Marc Blundell is right behind them. So that's the battle for 15th place, but you're watching the battle between Johnston and Alonso Jr. at the moment.
Good stuff here, the battle, and lots of other battles going on around the field here. That's one of the best ones at the moment. Parker Johnston just holding off there from Alonso Jr. Of course, had a bit more fuel after that stop on lap 12. He topped the fuel up, so running a little bit heavier than Parker Johnston, and you can see that perhaps on the straightaways there. Parker Johnston just able to leave him a little bit off the corners, and Alonso Jr. not quite able to get close enough going into the turn to make a pass.
Well, the situation up front is
but here's Paul Tracy under pressure from Greg Moore, looking to the inside, going down the back straightaway.
Greg Moore makes it, he moves up into second place, so the battle between the two Canadians sees Greg Moore go ahead of Paul Tracy and now go chasing after Raoul Boesel. Now remember, Paul Tracy's on the softer tyre. Is it beginning to wear already? He's lapping Michel Jourdain, that's not a problem for him, but Greg Moore now on the Firestone as opposed to the Goodyear tyre of Paul Tracy. He is looking in great shape and going chasing after Raoul Boesel up front, also on the Firestone tyre. Paul Tracy now also trying to get past Jourdain. He does that very easily, going up the back straight and into turn 3. Tracy now third. Zanardi is in 4th place. You can just see Zanardi in the background being chased by Jimmy Vasser there as well. So the two Chip Ganassi cars staying pretty much in team formation. But the one to watch at the moment is this one, the blue and white car of Greg Moore as he goes up the back straight. Will he close the gap between himself and Raoul Boesel? It's at 1.4 seconds at the moment. At the end of the last lap, lap number 27 was completed last time, lap 28 this time.
Leaving Paul Tracy for dead there, isn't he? Pulled away well over a second on that lap. Greg Moore really running strongly at this stage in the race.
Across the line they go, and he's narrowed it from 1.4 to just 0.5 seconds. He's half a second behind Boesel, although Boesel having to work his way through traffic a little bit, that won't have helped his cause. But just look at Greg Moore chasing after Raoul Boesel in the early stages of this race. In the midway point of this first stint we're at now, pretty much on the tyres, and Moore is just eating up the advantage. Look at this, absolutely fabulous. He's tucked under the rear wing now of Raoul Boesel. This is the battle for the lead, the Brahma car of Raoul Boesel being chased by the players car of Greg Moore into turns 1 and 2. Moore doesn't want to do anything too silly. They're coming up on the car of Walter Sales, the back marker to pass, and this is all part of oval racing. You've got to get cleanly past the slower cars, so Boesel now has to line up that car of Walter Sales to try and cleanly pass, and Greg Moore looking for the pass, running around the outside here.
Yellow.
We've got yellow.
I thought he was making, I couldn't believe how fast he was going around the outside of Raoul Boesel. Clearly the yellow had just come out there. I'm not quite sure what it's for at this stage, Marc Blundell, did he have a quick spin perhaps?
I don't know, he's down on the inside of the track, isn't he? But it's pretty much where he was with Ribeiro around the same sort of place. So I'm not sure what's happened to Marc Blundell, but he did seem to slow down a bit there. maybe not just because of the yellow flag, and that was all looking pretty exciting at that point, with a great battle developing between Raoul Boesel and Greg Moore for the lead of this race. Moore up to second and chasing down race leader, looking very, very competitive indeed at the moment. But Boesel just about to hold off. Just seeing Mark Blundell, he's just come down the pit road and maybe coming out again.
Yeah, well, I think the pits are probably closed. They close the pits until the cars pack up behind the race leader. So if you do try and make a pit stop, well, you're not allowed to make a pit stop, basically, but if you're in the pit lane, if you go all the way through the pits, then you don't incur a penalty. As long as you don't stop, you don't incur a penalty. So I'm sure that's what happened there for Mark Blundell.
So the team have waved him back out of the pit again, so he's gone straight round, and maybe now he'll get the signal that it's okay to come into the pits. Two race leaders there. We've got the two Eagles cars there, the Reynards with the Toyota engines. They're the back markers who have been sort of passed by the two leaders already, and are in between the rest of them, with PJ Jones in 20th place, Juan Fangio in 21st position, both virtually a lap down. Behind Boesel and Moore is Tracy third, Zanardi fourth, Vassar is in 5th place, Guterman in 6th, Carpentier 7th, Frankitti's in 8th place, Parker Johnston in 9th, and Alonso Jr. is in 10th. Michael Andretti down in 14th at the moment.
Yeah, struggling, isn't he?
Way where we've seen a few pit stops now from some of the front runners. Raoul Boesel has not come into the pits. He has stayed out on the circuit, but Greg Moore, who had chased him down in the last few laps before it went to yellow flag, he has been into the pits, but Moore has actually lost out to Jimmy Vassar and Alex Zanardi in the pit stops. Zanardi has reappeared in 5th place with Vassar in 6th. Greg Moore is down to 7th, but they have all stopped. The top 4 cars have not stopped, and that's Raoul Boesel, who's coming round to take the green flag this time. Across the line goes Raoul Boesel, takes the green flag, and Paul Tracy is now in 2nd place. Patrick Carpentier is 3rd, and Dario Franchitti, who has also not stopped, is now in 4th position. So we now see the battle rejoined, and also watch out for the progress of Greg Moore, who was just stunning before the yellow flag. But he's now got a full tank of fuel again, and he's got a new set of tyres on. So whether he'll be able to perform at quite that same level, well, we're just going to have to wait and see. You're watching the battle now between Dario Franchitti in the silver and blue car on the outside, and behind him, Alex Zanardi in the red car.
Nice move around the outside of PJ Jones there in turns 3 and 4. That's good news for the race, really, because the drivers have been a little bit concerned. It's a brand new racetrack. They put some lime on it to help the surface cure, but what that lime does, it's really a very fine dust. It's like some talcum powder. Very, very slippery it's been. It's been awfully difficult to make a move around the outside. So by running up there, the more rubber you get down, the more grip there gets on the racetrack, and that's good news that Franchitti is able to do that this early in the race.
There's Raoul Boesel, race leader. He's on lap number 38 at the moment. Still 199 laps to go. It's a long race, this one, as Boesel, the car working extremely well in race conditions. Might have expected him to drop back after seeing it qualify so well, but watch this. This is the battle between Carpentier and Franchitti, and this is the battle for 3rd place. Again, it's the two top rookie drivers this year, both powered by the Mercedes-Benz engine. There's not much to choose between them in terms of engine power, that's for sure, as Franchitti just trying to squeeze past as well. They can't get quite past Fangio at the moment. Up the back straight, and this will be Franchitti's opportunity, but he's got to watch out for Alex Zanardi, who's not far behind as well. He goes through quite safely this time and can continue his chase of Patrick Carpentier up front. Boesel still leads, Tracy 2nd, Carpentier 3rd, Franchitti 4th, then Zanardi 5th, Vassar in 6th, but there's not much to choose between them, as
Yellow
you can
flag
see.
Again. Yellow flag again out on the course.
Yes, we've got
oh, gee.
another engine blow, and it's Fangio this time. Juan Manuel Fangio with the Toyota powered car, and that has come back into the pit lane, and of course what that may mean is it's laid some oil down around part of the track. Well, he's not on the pit lane actually, he's just next to the pits there as he comes down start finish straight. So they've got to get that car cleared away and also mop up any of the oil that may have been dropped. These Toyota engines, really unbelievable, the sort of reliability factor that's been part of it this year. We've seen them rarely finish the race, and so many blow-ups throughout the course of the season.
That's right, the Archero Wells team alone has had more than 50, probably over 55 now, unscheduled changes during a race weekend. Not necessarily unscheduled, but they've had to change engines more than 50 times over the race weekends. We've done 5 races before here. In fact, Andrew Craig, the president of CART, actually wrote a letter to the Toyota top brass just a week or so ago saying if there's any way we can help you, you guys get up to speed or get more reliability into these engines, if you need more test time, whatever we can do to try and help you, we'll do that. What he's really saying, of course, is get your act together, guys. It's really unacceptable, I think, that they've had this many failures. We're 2 years into this program. There's a lot of technology that the Japanese and the American engineers have got to learn. It's difficult making an engine work on methanol. They're not used to methanol before. It's a very different fuel, has very different characteristics to gasoline, petrol as we say in Europe, that most race engines run. And there's an awful lot to learn. And it seems that Toyota guys are certainly a long way behind the 8 ball at the moment. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, that Max Papis ran with a new development engine there yesterday in qualifying. He doesn't have that engine here today. We didn't have that engine here today. But certainly there is some progress there, and maybe there's a light at the end of the tunnel for Toyota Racing Developments.
Well, let's hope so, but for the moment, another engine blow up and another yellow flag. We're doing quite well, though. We've only had 2 yellows so far in this race, with 3 yellows, sorry, yes, 3 yellows so far. We've had 41 laps completed, and we've got 195 still to go. Raul Boesel leads them round. Now I'm just wondering whether we're going to see some of those other guys now decide to take a pit stop, because remember, we saw a bunch of cars come into the pits a little while ago, which included Greg Moore, Jimmy Vasser and Alex Zanardi. Mauricio Guterman was also in that first group. And I wonder now whether we might not see the other guys like Raul Boesel, Paul Tracy, Carpentier and Frank Kitty decide to take advantage of this yellow flag period to make their first pit stop. Well, we've got some cars coming in, and it certainly looks like, yes, Boesel, Carpentier and Frank Kitty. By the looks of things, they have to wait a little while before they're actually allowed into the pit lane. That's why we see this delay. They're not allowed to come straight in as soon as the yellow flag waves these days. They have to wait until they're given the signal from the CART officials that the pit lane has been opened, and then the guys on the lead lap, which is most of them at the moment, are allowed to come in, and then on the next lap the guys a lap or more down are allowed to come in as well. But this is going to be very interesting to see where they come out on the track here, Jeremy, to see whether Raul Boesel is going to maintain his lead. Just see that Paul Tracy actually doesn't look as though Paul has come in. So Paul has actually stayed out in both of these yellows.
Yeah, that is surprising. I think we've got quite a few. You can really only do 60-odd laps before. Oh, there's a battle there between the 2 rookie drivers. I think Dario Franchitti has the nod, although Patrick Carpentier doesn't agree. There is, of course, a speed limit in the pit lane. Huge cheer from the grandstands. They loved that. They thought that was great.
Of course, they were both on the speed limiter, weren't they? They got up to 60 miles an hour, and it was wheel to wheel at 60 miles an hour going down until they got to the end of the pit lane, and they were able to come off the speed limit button. But by that point, Carpentier had the inside line, and there wasn't much Dario could do about it.
That's interesting. Now, I don't know. It seemed to me that when they were both on the limiter, and Franchitti was ahead a little bit. We'll see how the officials sort that one out.
Toronto, June 1st.
Welcome back to the Motorola 300, and we've now completed 44 laps, and Paul Tracy is the race leader with Alex Zanardi second and Jimmy Vasser third. We've just seen some of the other leaders come into the pit, so Raul Boesel has dropped down to 16th place in the line now, with Patrick Carpentier and Dario Franchitti behind him in 17th and 18th. But news that Alonso Jr. is going to have to drop to the back of the queue because he did the wrong thing when he came in and made his earlier pit stop. He joined in the middle of the queue rather than joining in at the back of the queue.
Yeah, the rule is when nowadays at least, when there is a pack-up of cars, if you make a pit stop under yellow, you have to rejoin at the back of the pack. It used to be you could blend in wherever you came out of the pits effectively, but apparently not so there for Unser, so we'll be assessing him a penalty. I'm sure he's arguing vehemently right now, but he is indeed slipping back down the field, and will rejoin his position at the back of the pack. So we'll have a Penske at the front and a Penske at the back when we get ready for a restart here, hopefully in a couple of laps.
Still trying to work out, Jeremy, aren't we, why Paul Tracy hasn't stopped, because we've had 2 yellow flag periods now. We've completed 45 laps, and we were thinking they would sort of go to around 60 laps if it stayed green the whole time, and yet Tracy has not decided to come in yet. So this is really quite interesting, but we're looking towards the restart now. Alonso Jr. has dropped to the back now. In fact, Matsushita lets him through already, but Tracy gets the race underway again. On to lap number 47. Tracy leads Zanardi and Vasser. They've got Richie Hearn in between them, but Hearn is a lap down now. He's in the white and red car there, who's second on the road, but you don't need to worry about him. There's the car that's actually second, and that is the Target Chip Ganassi car of Alex Zanardi. Third position behind him is Jimmy Vasser. Then Greg Moore is in 4th place. And remember, he was the one who was really going well in the middle part of the first stint. There he is. He leads the next group, which in includes Guterman, Parker Johnston, Scott Pruitt, Bobby Rahal, who's at the back of that little group, and then Brian Herter. We're on board with Bobby Rahal now, and behind him, there's a bit of dust down at turn 1, but I think that's okay. We're just looking out of the commentary box window. Somebody kicked up a lot of dust down there, but that was just by running very tight onto the curb on the inside, and it doesn't look as though any damage